Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in this week to This Georgia Clay. So I am partially in uniform because we are painting today. So yay, I'm so excited. But in this week's vlog, you'll see the transformation of framing to drywall. It's been a messy process. As you can see, our house is in a dysfunctional mess as of right now. I feel like I'm living in a construction zone. Eventually it'll all be cleaned up and it'll look beautiful again, but it feels like it's just dust everywhere. But one of the statement pieces in my office is this beautiful chair here. If you guys follow or have known this company called Six Penny, they have a chair that's very reminiscent of this one, and this is actually a Target dupe. There's other chairs that look very similar, but that's one that I in particular was looking for. But that chair is called the Neva chair, N-E-V-A, and it is almost $1,500. So I would never pay that much for a chair. I'd rather buy this one. And actually this was a floor model and I got it for 325 bucks at Target. So it was a steal. I actually lucked out on it because I've been looking for it for a while, but it's always been sold out. And this one was returned and it was beautiful and I was able to get a discount in stores. So make sure you guys check your local store and see if you can find this one, but I'll also make sure I link it on my LTK so that way you guys can find it as well. So, and this week we are, like I said, getting into the basement. We're doing some drywall, mudding actually, and sanding. This has been a draining process. I feel like it's never ending, and I keep sweeping, but it keeps coming back. So we're just trying to navigate through that. But let's go ahead and get into today's vlog. Alright guys, so before we actually started installing the drywall, we had to do electrical. So we really didn't have like a concrete plan of what we needed in the space, you know, how many lights we wanted or anything like that. My cousin came over and he said, well, how many lights do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. I totally forgot that obviously you need lights within the space. So Matt had went ahead and started putting over the electrical from the electrical panel over to the designated office spaces as well as our rec space. And so I decided to go ahead and help him out. This was the first time that I've ever ran any type of electrical wiring or anything through, I believe that's called joist. So yeah, I'm just doing that, and he told me just keep pulling it, and so that's what I was doing. So over here, I think this is the area right in front of the door when you first come into the rec space. Yeah. So we're just pulling it over to bring it over to my office, so then that way he could do the wiring there. And then also he needed to make sure that he made some drill holes within the actual studs of the office space so he could run them behind the wall when the actual drywall was installed. And I think I explained that perfectly. So anyhow, so he's drilling the holes there, making sure not to compromise the integrity of the wood, making sure that it's not too big, because that's the last thing that you would want is like a half inch or maybe even bigger than that hole in there, and then the stud is just no good. So again, kudos to him for figuring this out. And again, our neighbor kind of showed him the ropes, and he just ran with it and did an awesome job. So he's just bringing everything over to the designated spot and then actually installing additional receptacles to put the wiring through. So that's actually the plug where you would plug in a lamp, or I guess it's a plug. So he's just doing that now, and I guess there's like a little metal, a nail on the top, and so he would just take that nail, stick it against the stud, and hammer it in. And then he would just measure and see exactly how high up from the ground that he wanted the plug to go. The worst thing that you would want is for a plug to be too high, or when you're going around the room and you can see that they're all different levels. So make sure that you're conscious about that.
So I just wanted to share a saying that kind of stuck with me over the years. Basically, it goes, a jack of all trades and a master of none is often better than a master of one. And that kind of stuck with me my entire life ever since I heard it, because the way I operate is, you kind of want to, if you're really good at a lot of things, you can, to me, there's more value in getting things done on your own versus being, the greatest or a master of just one thing. So yeah, that kind of stuck with me, and hopefully somebody hears that and it'll help you in the future. But a special shout out to my neighbor Greg. His dad was an electrician, so he knows a ton about wiring stuff up. He took the time to come over and show me how to wire a brand new circuit, and also kind of give me some ideas about how to separate the power so that I don't have too much loaded on one circuit. So once I learned that from him, I took it and ran with it and added 3 brand new circuits. So Brittany will be on her own circuit, my office will have its own, and the gym space will also be on its own circuit. That way we don't overload anything. Everything should be run pretty nice and balanced, and we should be good to go. And we also have a dedicated outlet just for the treadmill in the gym space, and that'll be a 20 amp outlet. So we have plenty of power exactly where we need it, and everything will be very functional. So I still need to secure these. As you can see, you don't want them kind of dangling on the side, but it's time to go ahead and test this new circuit I added. So let's flip the switch. Alright, just joking guys, but this is really serious. Electricity is very dangerous. So again, if you're not comfortable, I just want to warn anybody that you definitely want to hire a professional. If you either don't know what you're doing, or you're not very comfortable with electricity in general. So once we got everything run, as you can see here, it's kind of running through all the joists. I made a very small hole, it's less than an inch, so I was able to get about 2 wires through one hole, and it doesn't compromise the integrity of the floor joist above. But we got everything run. We got switches in both offices, and then all the outlets were wired painstakingly one at a time. So you can see here I'm just going from one to the next. I needed a chair because it took me a long time to get all that stuff run. But yeah, just be patient, make sure you do everything right, and do not rush, because if you do anything wrong, your whole circuit is basically no good. So it does you no good to go fast. Just make sure you follow everything to the book, and just go one by one, and you should be just fine. So there's a quick crash course on wiring one outlet in a series. So in order to wire outlets across an entire room, you're basically gonna chain them all together. So one outlet is wired to the next and to the next and so on. So basically you have 2 Romex cable wires coming into an outlet box, and then you join both of those together into one single outlet. What that does is the power goes into one outlet, comes out, and goes to the next outlet. So really quick, basically all you want to do is join the 2 copper ground wires together first, and they have what's called a grounding wire nut, which goes through the copper wire, and then you basically just twist it on, and then you have a single wire that goes to the outlet itself, or the receptacle. From there you just have your 2 whites and your 2 blacks that get screwed onto the side, and then once you get those screwed on nice and tight, your outlet is ready, and then you can go ahead and just secure everything, push it back into the box, and then you're ready to move on to the next one. So there's a ton of videos out there on YouTube. I don't want to go into too much detail, but there's a ton of videos from some really great people out there that will teach you from A to Z how to do this. This is just really quick, just so you see an example of what I'm doing here. But yeah, it's not too bad.
right, so Matt wired the whole basement, and he's never done electrical work at all. This is his first time doing it. Well, he changed out the switch in Jalen's room. He added an additional plug, but as far as wiring something and making it functional in a space, this is the first time. So he asked me to do the honors to turn on the breaker, and I hope it's not for any other reason and I don't get electrocuted. But yeah, so let me go ahead and turn it on and we should have power. So which one is it? Which one?
That one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
This way?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh! Oh my gosh. Wow. You did awesome. See, I told you the 2 lights in here was just enough light. That's good. Oh my gosh. Of course, it's looking all rough now, but everything is functional and in its place, and we are ready. Let's turn this one on. Your office space. Oh my gosh. I'm so proud of you. I really am. You did awesome. You did awesome. And you saved us so much money because electrician would have been insane. Just for that, just to run the Cat 6 wiring, that guy wanted to charge us $450, and that was just for like one area. That's not wiring the whole basement like now, so I can't imagine how much that would have cost. And Matt did it all for free. That was that love, equity, sweat equity that he put in. Oh, I love it, babe. Let's go over to my office. So in my office space, I wanted to make sure that the chandelier, because all of these lights are all temporary and they'll be replaced, but I wanted a chandelier to be independent to the lights in my coffee bar area. So Matt was able to do a YouTube video and watch it and see how you're able to split the wires, I guess. So he was able to have the switches work independently of each section. So this switch here is for over here, which is where my coffee bar will be here. So it'll be somewhere within this area is where Matt wants to put the coffee bar, on this back wall. And then I'll put like some artwork sconces or something on this side. But I wanted the lights to be independent because I didn't want the whole area to be just lighted up all the time. So I figured that I could just have the chandelier on its own and have that area on its own. And it was a great call. So I appreciate him figuring that out. And then also he put in the light here in our unfinished storage area as well. So that'll be on its own light, and we'll have a barn door here. So thanks so much, babe, for figuring it all out. I know that it was a lot of work and you were in here every day, all night, but it makes me love it even more because you did it for us. So thanks so much.
So I just wanted to share real quick what kind of lights we're using in our new finished space. Each one of these comes with its own metal junction box, which is to code, and they're really easy to daisy chain all the lights together so you can add a bunch of them in a room, as many as you need. And they're also dimmable, which is good, so you can control the amount of light that they actually give off. Each one of these only uses 7 watts of electricity, so that's crazy. So you can light a whole room for less than one standard light bulb. So that was really cool to know, because I added about 7 in this space and then put 2 over Brittany's coffee bar area. So yeah, once I got everything finished up, then it was time for drywall, meaning we were going to cover these lights up and then cut holes to pull them down later and finish that process.
So now that the framing was done, the guys came back to help us with drywall. This is something that was very intimidating for us, and we wanted to make sure that it was done correctly, so we went ahead and hired that out. They're the same guys that came over to help us with the framing initially, and they just came back when we were ready for the drywall. All of the supplies that they needed, we made sure that we ordered for them, and they had everything that they needed on hand when they got to us. So we ordered the drywall as well as the insulation, and then Home Depot, of course, just delivered it to us. For some reason, I don't know what happened as far as the mudding. I think the guys thought that we didn't have any more mud left, and it was just miscommunication. So one of the tubs of mud we had to actually do on our own in my basement, in my office. So you see us here, Matt's just mixing it up, and then we attempt to cover the tape with the mud. And this was the first time that we actually had to do any mudding. I really wish that we would have made sure that every single container of mud was down there for them, because this process was just frustrating. It was a learning curve, making sure to apply it correctly. Are we applying too much? Is it too thin? So it was just a lot of going back and forth, but Matt ended up doing it for me. I have carpal tunnel, and so when I'm doing projects like this, it just really isn't good for my wrist. And so you'll see me start, and then I really didn't finish. He ended up finishing the rest for me, so I appreciate doing that. So one thing throughout this process that we learned was it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of sanding, and it takes a lot of coats of mud. In total, it was about 3 coats of mud, and then sometimes you have to go back over and find some other areas that might have needed a little bit more attention. So in between each coat, you do have to sand. You don't have to sand as vigorously as maybe your first coat, and then the more that you do the coats, you just get a little bit lighter on your sanding, but it creates so much dust, and it's just such a process and wear and tear. So people that actually do this for a living, I give it up to them, because I don't know if I can do this as a profession every single day to drywall someone's space. But I don't think this will ever be a project we'll do again. I know a potential client reached out to me and asked, can you add a room to their house? And I absolutely said no. So this is a one-time project only. This Georgia Clay does not specialize in framing, drywall, any of that.
So we've used handheld sprayers in the past from both Wagner and Graco, and the finish that you get over rolling or brushing is a lot better to us. So we decided to upgrade a little bit and bought a Magnum X5 from Graco. The steps that they include with the instructions, which are laminated, which is cool, because you can get it dirty, wet, you can get paint on the setup instructions, but it's laminated, so it just wipes right off. But they walk you through all the steps, including flushing water through the system to get anything from the factory out, and priming and prepping everything. The hose does come pre-assembled, so the trigger and gun and everything is already on there ready to go. But once you get everything set up, it's pretty quick and easy. The cleanup is a little bit of work, but the finish that you get out of this is totally worth the work. So basically here I'm just straining the primer just in case there might be like any lumps or anything in there that could possibly clog up the sprayer. But once you get everything strained out, all you do is move both of those hoses into the bucket that you're spraying from, and that's pretty much it. You're ready to go.
So now it was time to prime. We went ahead and used a white primer. You'll want to always use a white primer when you're using any type of white, cream, or beige paint. It helps to provide a nice rich coverage, especially because we decided to go ahead and paint the basement, which you'll see next week, with a white paint by Promar, which is a Sherwin-Williams paint, but it's really thin. So having this nice base coat of primer, and especially being white, allowed us to be most cost effective within that space of using a somewhat cheaper paint, because it still was $100 and some odd for a 5-gallon bucket, which of course is, by all means, you can get even more expensive than that, but we wanted to be cost effective as possible, and having that primer paint just allowed us to get a really good coverage. So when we put on a paint that might have been a little thinner, it actually accounted for that. So you want to make sure that, again, the primer is always the best, and we made sure that we went with a really good, nice, thick primer made by Kills. All right, guys, so we've come to the part of the vlog that I know you're all been waiting for. So for our 10,000 giveaway, we were doing $50 for 4 people to target, and they're going to be virtual gift cards because I think that just makes it easier rather than you having to wait for a physical card to be mailed. But I did go ahead and choose 4 people. So the first person is going to be Linnell Horry 2703, and I'll go ahead and send you a comment on your response to your I Heart This Georgia Clay, and then it'll tell you how to contact me. The next person is at let's see, Kentra 4558, and the next one is at Curls and Waves, and the last person is going to be at Catherine Hine 696. So congratulations, ladies. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. The channel is growing every day, and so I thank you guys so much. The next giveaway will be 15,000, and we'll do something special at that point too. So again, thank you guys so much. Make sure that you guys check your comments, and I'll go ahead and let you know how to contact us. Thanks so much. All right, so we're at Floor and Decor, so we're gonna go ahead and head inside, but you guys will see that next week. All right, guys, so again, thank you guys so much for tuning in this week to This Georgia Clay. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and we'll see you guys next week. And also, happy Valentine's Day as well, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope your Super Bowl team won. Matt roots for the Eagles.
Yeah.
I said Eagles.
Eagles.
The Eagles. I
don't. They're gonna win.
I just go for whoever is there. I really don't follow football like that. So whatever team he's going for, that's what wifey goes for as well. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Next week we're gonna get into it, the nitty gritty, the fun. We're still ironing out the design, but I can't wait to share it with you guys. Bye, guys.